Everyone and welcome. I'd like to begin today's meeting by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we're gathered and to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to the City Lifestyle Committee meeting of the 7th of December 2022, our very last one for the year, and I declare this meeting open at 9 a.m. I'd like to advise meeting attendees that this meeting is being webcast and audio recorded. Now, councillors, I've received 2 leaves of absence today. I've received a leave of absence from Councillor Jeremiah and from Councillor Wilcox. Do we have any other leaves of absence we need to declare? There being none, I ask for someone to move that we accept an absentee from Councillor Jeremiah and Councillor Wilcox. Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Can I have a seconder for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Hall. By a show of hands, can I see those who are in support? Thank you, everyone. That has been unanimously supported. Councillors, please note I've also received an apology this morning from our newly appointed Director of Community Services, Mr. Brad White. I'm hoping Brad might be home watching today, and if he is, I would just like to say congratulations on his appointment as Director. And we have representing Brad today, Kim Bryan, who is the Director of People and Engagement, and thank you for joining us. Councillors, I now refer to declarations of conflicts of interest. Do any councillors wish to declare any conflicts of interest against any reports for today? There being none, I'll now draw your attention to the reports. Item 5.1 is the Access and Inclusion Plan for 2019 to 2022. It's the final outcomes report and draft Disability Action Plan for 2023 to 2025. Through the Director of People and Engagement, Ms Kim Bryan, and the Acting Manager of Community Services, Ms Michelle Griffin, please enter discussions. Good morning, Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. You may present your report.
Thank you. Through the Chair, the purpose of the report that we brought to you today is to provide you with our outcomes and achievements for our current Access and Inclusion Plan, which is ending in December this year. And we're also looking to seek your endorsement for the draft Disability Action Plan, which will go from 2023 to 2025 to proceed to public consultation. Both of the reports that you've got today have also been approved by ELT prior to coming to committee. And with your endorsement, the draft Disability Action Plan will go out for public consultation over January. And we will conclude that at the end of January. We'll make all the amendments in February with the hope to come back to you in March with our final plan. This time frame, we're hoping we've extended it because we know it's over the Christmas period, and we would also really love your feedback as councillors during this period of time. So if we can ask you to reach out to us either in email, or I'm really happy to come and meet with you to talk about any amendments you might like or additions, we would really love that. We'll also send you a councillor update via email to ask you to share that with your community to get their feedback. So we'll do that through Have You Say. We'll directly send it to the people who have already given us their contribution to the comments and actions already in there. So we would really love your feedback. I'm happy to take any questions. Mainly I want to thank all of the branches. I just want to make note that we're here presenting today on behalf of the whole organisation, and there's 24 branches that have been a part of the delivery of the last 2 action plans and also this new one. So I want to thank all the managers and staff who have actually input into it. It's not Cara and I sitting here today that have done it all. You'll notice that it's the whole organisation. So I'll do my best to answer any questions today, but I may need to come back to you if they're about other branches. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. And just before I go to questions, can I just ask our team if we could please do something about the noise that keeps coming through in the background? And my apologies for interrupting your presentation with that, Michelle. Where would we be without a few technical glitches, I say? Just while the ladies are sorting that out, I note that Councillor Lane had a question. I'll go to Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much, Madam Chair. Through you. I read this document and I was extraordinarily impressed by it. I think that you covered a lot of areas, and in doing so, in reading it, I saw a couple of areas where I had concerns, and it related to accessibility in a pool. It related to, in particular, footpaths and our new footpaths, ensuring that they actually have a curve instead of a hard right angle. A lot of people in mobility scooters can't do hard right angles in those mobility scooters. So in my division, we've been trying to retrofit existing footpaths, but I would love to see new footpaths constructed with people with disabilities clearly in mind. I think it's only right and it's just that we do that. I've seen people who are single and double amputees fall out of their wheelchairs when they've come a cropper on a right-hand angle. It's not pretty, it's not dignified, and it's certainly not fair to them. So if that could be included as a recommendation and part of the report, I would really appreciate that. When it came to actually raising the issue about our local pool, I was most impressed that your branch worked with the lessees and another company to actually try and get really swift outcomes on the issues that I raised. So I want to say thanks to Aaron, thank you to you and the team. I think it's most important when we talk the talk, we've got to walk the walk, and following up on these issues, as you did so quickly, was most impressive. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Do any other councillors have any other comments? I'd just like to say a sincere thank you too. I note that you are representing all the branches here today, Michelle, but it's no small feat to coordinate 24 branches across council. Made somewhat easier by everyone wanting to lean in and really provide good opportunities and quality of life opportunities for our residents, and I appreciate that. And I know a couple of councillors here have actually had their own challenges with regard to access and inclusion in the past couple of years, and it's great to see that we're accommodating everybody's needs. So thank you very, very much for your hard work. Now, councillors, any other discussion? Any other? No, just before we move that, I'd just like to say I note that an updated version of Attachment 2 was circulated to all councillors via email last week, so we need to table that updated document. And can I please have a mover for the following motion, that the updated Attachment 2 in relation to item 5.1 of the City Lifestyle Committee, which was distributed via email, the meeting is of course held on the 7th of December 2022, be received. Could I have someone to move that? Thank you, Councillor Lane. There's no need for a seconder on that, but can I please see by a show of hands all of those of you who are in support? Thanks, everyone. That's been unanimously supported. And now, councillors, will move to the report itself. Do I have a mover for the report's motion as displayed on the screen behind me? Thank you, Councillor Bradley. I have a seconder with Councillor Lane. By a show of hands, can I see all of you who are in support? Thank you, councillors. That has been unanimously supported. Councillors, does anyone have any general business for the Acting Community Services Manager? There being none, Michelle, do you have any general business for the councillors?
Through the chair, just a reminder, Trevor reminded me about this, on Saturday the 10th we have the Swim Logan celebration, so for those who have been invited and can attend, it's a really busy time of year, so look forward to seeing you all. That's the final celebration of the 2-year Swim Logan program, so hopefully
very
see you
exciting.
there.
I'm hoping to see a few councillors there in their cozies. We'll wait and see. Thanks, team. Thanks very much. Councillors, I now draw your attention to item 5.2, which is our Logan Magazine review. Through the Director of People and Engagement, Ms Kim Bryant, can the Acting Manager of Marketing and Events, Ms Angie Scott, please enter discussions. Good morning, Angie, and welcome. When you're ready, you may proceed.
Thank you, Councillor Karansky. Through the Chair, good morning, everyone. I'm here today to present some different options on potentially changing the distribution of the Our Logan magazine. As you all know, we produce 6 editions of the magazine annually, and it's distributed citywide to approximately 131,000 residences. The most reliable method of distribution is Australia Post, and they've recently changed their product. We've previously used a community pack product, and they're moving to a promo post product, which is increases the cost significantly. So we've explored some options to potentially change how we do things. And as you know, I presented these options in the briefing session in October just to ensure that there was enough information here for you to make a decision. I gleaned from that briefing that there was, and everyone was happy to proceed. So I will take this report as read, but I just quickly wanted to recap that the options are: option A, deliver the magazine unaddressed mail. Option B proposes, excuse me, a smaller print run with bulk drop across the city. Option C is keeping 6 editions per year, but we would stump up the extra money for the increased cost, which is significant, and option D proposes reducing the editions of the magazine from 6 to 4. Yeah.
Thank you, Angie. Councillors, do we have any questions for the manager? I do. We'll commence with Councillor Stemp and then we'll go to Councillor Bannon. Councillor Stemp.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you. So I just want to check with option A, which is obviously the recommendation. Do we know how many residents are currently unsubscribed from the magazine?
Approximately 2,000 in the last year have unsubscribed.
Okay, so if they've already unsubscribed, they will still get a magazine as part of this option?
Correct. That is one of the risks that we've presented, that potentially that will annoy people who have unsubscribed.
Okay. And so is there any way, so for example, if there's no junk mail written on the thing, they will still be delivered, but if it says Australia Post only, they would not be delivered? I'm just trying to understand what options might be available to those who wish to unsubscribe.
We did look into this a little bit further after the briefing, because initially what we thought was if it says no junk mail, we can notify Australia Post that they don't go through those letterboxes. But Councillor Russell had the point that people who've moved in to a property that already has a no junk mail sign haven't actually put that no junk mail sign up. So there's potentially crossover there of people who do want to receive the magazine who then wouldn't. So Australia Post will take our call as to whether magazines go through the letterbox that say no junk mail or they don't. There is no Australia Post, there's no difference. Australia Post said there's no difference between no junk mail and Australia Post only.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's no legal implications for someone not wanting a magazine and us continuing to deliver it?
Oh, Councillor Stemp, I'll have to take that question on notice.
Okay.
And I can check.
So obviously
with corporate
online
governance.
there's issues if you want to subscribe from something.
Correct.
And you can, I'm just curious to see whether there's any issues with continuing to deliver something if they don't want it. So I'm just curious about that one too.
Be appreciated, Angie, if you could seek some advice and provide that to all councillors. Any further questions, Councillor Stemp? Thank you. Councillor Bannon.
Thank you. Through the Chair, probably following on from Councillor Stemp, if we do that and then someone complains to the council and says, I don't want your magazine, I'm sick of looking at you, is there a process then we can go, hey, we're really upsetting this person?
No, there's not.
That's a worry. And then probably something for me to talk to councillors later because I'm dropping it on your last minute. Did they look at option A but drop them back to 4 editions or everyone wanted 6?
We didn't look at that option, but there is a little bit of mix and match possibility to these options, so we can look into that.
Yeah, I don't want to drop it on you, but I'll probably talk to the council. I think 4's plenty, but anyway.
I think this was largely motivated by increases in cost to do the delivery, and I think the officers were trying to find still being able to service the community and meet the increase in costs. So there's challenges, but very happy for that discussion to occur offline. Thank you, Councillor Bannon.
Just wonder if any of those 2,000 unsubscribers were in Division 9. Just checking.
Councillors, any other questions, Councillor Bannon, other than your subscribers? Thank you, Councillor Bannon. I'll now go to Councillor Hall.
Yeah, look, the Our Logan magazine doesn't fall under the junk mail provision because it's political in nature. Therefore, it's not classified through classification as junk mail. Therefore, there's no legal ramifications for putting it in someone's mailbox, even if they don't want it. By comparison, I know a lot of people are upset with the new logo, but we're not going to go pulling it off buildings because it's upset people and they don't want to see it. The vast majority want to be informed, and we need to go by what the vast majority wants. And unfortunately, sometimes some people have to deal with a magazine that they don't want because the vast majority do want it, and it's just the way it is. But it's up to us to provide a service as efficiently and as cost effectively as possible for all residents. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Hall. I've got Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much through you, Madam Chair. I really enjoyed the discussion around the Our Logan magazine. I mean, we raised concerns about the plastic wrapping and people's views on plastic wrapping. A lot of people don't like it. We raised whether or not we could drop them off at locals' main hubs, shopping centres, seniors' places, and actually save money that way. But probably one of the most, I suppose, frustrating things about it is there are many people that really like reading Our Logan magazine. They like being up to date, but they don't want to see a paper copy of it. And for some reason, we don't have the capacity between our branches to actually share those emails and send that out to everybody each time there's an addition on, and actually do a major drop into shopping centres. That's a cost-saving measure. It's a great cost-saving measure, and while it's not the preferred option, because we actually had these discussions in a briefing, that's actually my preferred option. I think it's smart, it's good business sense, it saves paper, and it certainly saves plastic going into the community. So, yeah, I'll be supporting the recommendations today, but I really did prefer the option of more online engagement with local residents using our extensive email list to actually email that out to them.
Great comments, Councillor Lane. And actually, after the briefing, I did go back to the Our Logan team, and we have for next year put in place where we will put a PDF of the magazine online. And as you know, people who haven't subscribed, we can't use the full council list of emails that we have. We can only use the people that have subscribed to Our Logan. However, we will, if we have cost savings next year, we will plan to do a bit of work to increase the subscriber list and the footprint of that digital magazine.
Do you know the most interesting part is when I purchased not just one but a couple of properties in Logan, I never ticked a box that said I didn't expect that my email could not be used by all branches of council. I did not tick a box that said for privacy reasons it can only be used by the rates people or just as a general contact thing. And I think most other people feel that way about the emails. They don't want to be inundated. But certainly something like this, if it's a cost-saving measure and council can actually loosen up a little bit, and actually it's one council. It's not multiple councils. This is one council with a database, an extensive database of email addresses. I think we should actually be looking at whether or not we can lawfully use them and use them in a really good way to distribute this magazine out. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. I think that's probably outside of Angie's purview, but that might be something that our acting director might be able to pick up and report back to councillors with. Thanks, Kim. Thank you. I have a question from Councillor Bradley.
Thank you. Not really a question, more of a statement, I suppose. There is reference to the magazine in the next committee, in our Logan Listens survey, which I thought was very interesting, that people are taking less notice of the magazine as their source of reference and information gathering. And I know this term there was support for newsletters, divisional newsletters, which is a first for a long time, for over 10 years. And I supported that for the newer councillors so they can communicate with their constituents. So for me, I actually use this as an election platform, and as you know, I got way over 80% of the vote because I asked the community what they wanted with this magazine. Because you would religiously, not that I'm religious, sorry, you would, without doubt, every time Our Logan magazine was dropped off, you'd see it dumped on the nature strip, and people would put it straight in the bin, and people would complain that they do not read it, and what a waste of money. So I'm not supportive of any of the options that are presented here at all. I could not justify using ratepayers' money for any of those options. I'm supportive of going more electronic. I'm supportive of divisional newsletters. I am supportive of councillors having email addresses, but I am not supportive of anything that is presented here. And I understand I was not at the briefing, and this is where the problem of briefings are, that you get a litmus test of the sentiment of people and then you present that sentiment. But anyway, that's something that I will wear. I'll take that on board, that I was not there and I did not present my case as the litmus test. But yeah, I cannot support any of the options presented here. That's all I will say.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. And just with regard to the briefing, I was there, and I would just acknowledge that the managers did come to discuss that there's been increases in being able to provide the delivery standard that we'd become accustomed to, and they could no longer do that at the same price or even close to the same price, and provided councillors with options that might be able to continue the service without increasing the price. So I do commend you for not bringing this back to a budget discussion. I appreciate that you've tried to measure twice and cut once, so I acknowledge that. I've got a question from Councillor Hall.
Not a question, more of a statement. I'm unsure of the demographic of Division 1, but my demographic I'm very aware of. I have a lot of elderly residents, and although some of them are on board with technology, not all of them are. And they want to know what's happening with council. They write to me, and they don't email me, they literally write to me because they've got an invested interest in what happens to the city, and they often write to me about some of the stories that they've read in the Our Logan magazine. It makes them feel part of what's happening with our city to be able to engage in that matter. And removing that magazine means I'm taking away that level of engagement with those residents. And I think it's very unfair because not everyone lives on the internet. Not everyone wants to be part of that social media sphere. Many of them are quite happy with the traditional way that we've been doing things, and they want to continue on with the traditional ways that we're doing things. And I understand that we should all embrace the future, but hey, sometimes we don't want to just let go of some of the old ways. Sometimes it's good to acknowledge the old ways and to keep some of our elderly residents who want to stick with the old ways well informed with what's happening in our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Now, Councillor Bradley has raised her hand. I'll give you the opportunity to respond, Councillor Bradley, and then I have a question from Councillor Raven. But I will just remind councillors on what the recommendation is for the report today, and not to broaden the argument too far away from what the discussion piece is about today. Councillor Bradley.
Thank you. I asked for a right of reply because I think there was a misconstrued understanding of what I actually articulated. I said I'm supportive of divisional newsletters for divisional councillors. I am supportive of email addresses for divisional councillors to email their constituents, and I'm also I am not supportive of the recommendations that are here, and I acknowledge I was not at the briefing, and I take on board that is my responsibility. I had commitments or whatever. Unfortunately, I can't remember 100%, but don't misconstrue what I said.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. For my position, I understand clearly, and I also understand Councillor Hall's position as well. I don't see the two as, competitive in nature. I see them as mutually exclusive. Councillor Raven, you have a question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you. I'm uncomfortable, as Councillor Bannon is, with the recommendation because of the 2,000 properties, not residents, properties, which means there's probably 8,000 adults, if not more. 6,000 adults, 2.5. What's 2.5 times 2,000? Anyway, there's 5,000 adults that are probably going to be out there saying, why isn't council listening to me? And that's not a huge portion of the population of 350,000, but I guarantee you, knowing some of the people in my electorate who have said, I do not want it delivered to me because I feel it's a waste and I'd rather receive it digitally, they will see that as a direct slap in the face from a council that says we're sustainable, that says we're trying to reduce our impact on the environment and that we listen to our residents. And then we turn around and go, but we're still going to send you something that you've explicitly told us we don't want, that you don't want. I'd be more comfortable with option D, which reduces the number of editions from 6 to 4 annually and still allows those people who have nominated not to receive the Our Logan magazine as a hard copy to do so. It still gives councillors ample opportunity through their 2 newsletters a year and 4 Our Logan magazines to communicate with their residents for those who do want to do it that way. And I know we all want to communicate with our residents. It keeps the cost roughly the same. And it still allows the people who have chosen to opt out, and by virtue of the fact that we are reducing from 6 to 4 editions, we are lowering our impact on the environment simply by virtue of that. I know it's probably not going to get much support, but if the recommendation fails, I'll put forward option D.
Thank you, Councillor. I've got Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Angie. Thank you for bringing this report forward. I'd like to say from a budget point of view, you've been able to deliver this magazine to every household for far less than what we were originally paying. For the 2,000 unsubscribers, it's just about communication. If we could let them know that we are trying our best to save the ratepayer money of over $100,000 to get it into everybody's letterbox, I'm sure they would understand. And in option A, we are delivering to every suburb and we're keeping the same amount of editions for less money than 4 editions posted postally. So I'm going to definitely support option A, and I'm happy to move the report.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. And did you have something further, Councillor Bradley?
Thank you. If it went down to 3 editions, I'd support that.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. What we're going to do, if there's no further questions, we're actually going to test the room. Councillors, I'll have a recommendation up on the board behind me in just a moment. Please take a moment to read the recommendation so that you understand what we're voting on. Okay, councillors, the recommendation on the board is that council endorse option A as detailed in the report of the director for the distribution of the Our Logan magazine via unaddressed mail. I've had Councillor Murphy move the recommendation. Do I have a second? Thank you. Councillor Lane has seconded the recommendation. I know there's a bit of division over this one, so please put your hand up high if you're in support. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that has failed. Okay, councillors, just for the record, we'll go around and record everyone's vote. Mr Mayor, how do you vote?
Against.
Councillor Bradley?
Against.
Councillor Lane?
I voted for.
Thank you. Councillor Russell?
Against.
Councillor Raven?
Against.
Councillor Hall?
For my residents, 4.
Thank you. Councillor Fraser, just for the record? 4? 4. Thank you. Councillor Bannon?
Against.
Councillor Stemp?
Against.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Councillor Murphy? And I am 4 as well. Okay, councillors, I'm in your hands. Do I have a preferred recommendation? Councillor Raven?
As per the recommendation on the board, but changing the distributor of Our Logan magazine in line with option D.
Do I have a seconder for that recommendation? Councillor Bannon? Would anyone like to speak to the recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Lane, and I'll speak to the recommendation also. Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much through you, Madam Chair. If we're going to play around with the recommendations, then I would love to remove the plastic wrapping from the magazine. Is there support for that?
Councillor Lane, following the briefing, we did look into that. There was some conjecture in the room about waterproofing the magazine, so we have left it in the plastic wrap, which is biodegradable, but we can take that away. It just means that it's not waterproof.
Okay, councillors, I also would just like to make more of a statement than a question. I will really struggle to support option D for the reasons that Councillor Murphy outlined. I just don't see the value for money there. I was very much in support of option A, which failed, which I understand. I might just ask a question of Angie. Angie, would it be possible to actually write to those 2,000 residents, as Councillor Murphy put forward, and engage in some communication with those residents? It's just that I recognise that we're talking about $100,000 that could actually be distributed elsewhere within council without losing that service. So I just wonder if you might comment on that.
I think that's entirely possible, Councillor Karansky, and we had already talked briefly about putting a comms plan in place, obviously letting customer service know and coming up with some key messaging around why the change is, so that when we do get inquiries, everybody's fully equipped to answer those with that really positive messaging of we're actually saving money. But I think that's a pretty easy fix, to email all of those people and let them know why the change has come about.
Thank you. Okay, councillors, you do have a motion that's on the board behind me now. You're just take a moment to read the motion, which refers to option D, which is promo post via Australia Post, reducing the number of editions to 4 editions per year. but it's increasing the distribution cost to $164,300, which equates to $1.25 per item. I'll just give you all a moment to have a look at that. Now, we've had that moved by...
It says unaddressed mail there, Councillor Kransky. I think Councillor Raven was saying it's to be semi-addressed, so people could still unsubscribe, but just move from 6 editions to 4 a year.
Yeah, so if
Okay,
you just
thank
remove the
you.
last 3 words,
Yeah, I've got you.
it works. Yeah.
Just give us a moment. We want to make sure we get it right. That's why I like you all to read what's behind me. So I'm reading from my report. You don't want any mail?
Yeah, if you just refer to option D, you don't need any of the other detail. Thank you.
Councillors, could you please just take a moment to read that over? It should be the same as you can see on page 2 of 4 in your report, which is page 91. All right, councillors, the motion on the board behind me. Councillor Raven, you're still happy to move that motion. Councillor Bannon, you're still happy to second that motion. Okay, thank you. We will actually allow the Mayor to speak to the motion, followed by Councillor Lane. Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I strongly object to this. I was supportive of Councillor Bradley reducing the amount under option A, but I do not support spending any more money. You're probably aware that we've got another committee after this, and we've got some first budget amendment, and finances aren't going great. You cut to your times, and that might have been a famous line by a former councillor, Councillor Abel, but I'll tell you what, you don't want to go to an election and they say they're a nice council, but we just can't afford them. And that's where you're heading. You're heading in the wrong direction, folks. It's about obviously protecting the ratepayer from hyperinflation. I'm surprised that Councillor Raven even suggested this. I can't afford Councillor Raven's views. This city, we've got to deliver a great budget, and this is not getting in that direction. I cannot believe that you've gone to option D. I'm shocked. I cannot believe it. I would prefer option A, reducing the amount of copies, because we need to cut to the times. We still produce a newsletter. It's not about you. It's about the ratepayer. It's about showing discretion. It's about showing that we can manage our money. And this is not the direction about looking after yourselves. It's about looking after your city. Absolutely appalled that this has actually gone up.
Just allow me to interrogate this a little further as we cool our jets. Mr Mayor, so you don't support option D. Do you support any of the options that are available?
If you remember, Councillor Bradley suggested that option A with a reduced amount of copies. I would support that.
Point of order, that's not what she said at all. She repeated it twice. That's not what she said.
Councillor Raven, I'll chair the meeting, and I will actually ask Councillor Bradley what she said, and she can clarify for us. Councillors, I appreciate the passion. I think that you're all trying to get to the same place, which is to reduce the overheads for our residents and to make sure that our residents feel well communicated with. And together we will find a way forward. Please cool your jets. I'll get everybody an opportunity to speak. Councillor Bradley, would you like to clarify your position, and so we can determine if you and the Mayor are in fact on the same page?
I didn't 100% say the unaddressed. I just said reduced to 3. I support reduced to 3, but I don't know how much that costs. So it's not actually in here, but I cannot support what it is, the options that were presented. That's all I said. And I'm supportive of the divisional newsletters. I mean, that is a forum for communicating with residents that aren't electronically, can't go on computers, etc. So you're still communicating with your constituents, and I'm probably with the Mayor, and that you're coming up to an election. A lot of you haven't been through that process yet, and people will start saying we cannot afford you.
Councillors, I'll give everybody an opportunity, but I would really like to give the manager the opportunity to address the question regarding cost.
Councillor Bradley, you're right. We don't have an option in there costing out 3, but I'm not sure I can do the maths on the fly, but each of those options there is the distribution per edition, so we just times that by 3. So if we did unaddressed mail 3 times a year, good on you, Councillor Lane. And you can obviously do that for each option. Does that make sense?
All right. Thank you, councillors. Now I've got Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much, Madam Chair, through you. And I put my hand up at the same time as the Mayor, so I was intending to make this statement despite the Mayor's comments, which was I didn't see that an increase in the overall cost to ratepayers for less additions was actually a good outcome. That being said, if you don't like the options, and I didn't see your hand go up for option A at all, Mr Mayor, which was the cheaper option, which 5 people did raise their hand for. So being appalled is one thing, but actually coming to an outcome is quite another thing. So I think I feel like I want to have a chip at you for that. I don't believe that someone actually coming up with options and saying why they believe those options, they should actually be carved up in this forum. That's all well and good. We are coming into tougher times, so option A was the better option. It was the affordable option, and it was lost in here. So we're actually debating the rest of it, not having digs at each other.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. I share your sentiment with regard to that. Now, Councillor Bannon, did you have your hand up? No, you're all good? Cooling your jets. You feel free to put your hand up at any time. I've got a few hands up at the moment. I've got Councillor Hall, Councillor Raven, and then I've got Councillor Stemp.
Thank you, through the chair. I believe the newsletters were more divisional specific information. It was to provide information about what the council is doing in their division and what council is doing in their division, whereas our Logan is more citywide. It gives the broader scope per se as to what council itself is doing. So to say that removing one is okay because you still get the other, I don't believe it's telling the full story of what council is doing, which is what we really need to do. Once again, I'm going to say that I'm supportive of option A. It may have been lost, but it didn't lose by much. I completely understand what the Mayor is saying, and I think we do need to be vigilant with our spending, and option A seems to be on this the only way that we can get the same level of communication out to the residents at a reduced cost.
Councillor Hall, I completely agree with you. Unfortunately, that option failed. So we'll move on to Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I agree with Councillor Hall that people do like to see information across the whole city. Our Logan is unique for that. I often get comments from my residents about things in other parts of the city. Sometimes they ask why I'm not doing what another councillor is doing, so it makes a rod for our own back, but that's all what the fun is, right? So there's another cost that hasn't been included, Mr Mayor, that I'll just ask Angie about now. So, Angie, there's obviously a fair bit of staff time that goes into producing the magazine, but we haven't included the extra productivity that you would get back when you're producing less copies, have we?
No.
No. So when we go from 6 editions to 4 editions, there's a lot less, there's a third less staff time that'll be used, and there's a lot of staff positions that go into producing the magazine. It's media, it's marketing, it's all over and then it's our advisors as well, as they do work too. But done the maths, thank you very much, Councillor Lane, for doing that. If the dollar figure is all you're worried about, Mr Mayor, I'm happy to support less editions. What I'm not happy to do is to send things out that people specifically have told us they don't want, because that is ignoring what residents are talking to us about. Nothing makes a resident more angry than when council ignores them. So if the dollar figure is all it's about, Mr Mayor, let's reduce it to 3 a year. Yeah, look, Councillor Bradley wanted that from the beginning. She's given me the thumbs up. And that brings it down to 492,000, which is still is 120 grand dearer than the distribute to everyone, irrelevant of whether or not they wanted option. But it also would include a lot of savings on staff time, I imagine.
Councillor Raven, did you have a question in there? No, thank you. Councillor Stemp.
Sorry, I'm actually good. I did set some figures, and it was kind of similar to what Councillor Raven said. So.
Thank you, councillors. Councillors, there's a motion on the board that has been moved by Councillor Raven, seconded by Councillor Bannon. Can I see by a show of hands those councillors who support the motion? Hang on a second. No, you've moved the motion. You seconded the motion. It's on the floor, and we were speaking to the motion. So if this one fails, we'll then have another opportunity. But this one's live, so we need to put this one to bed. So by a show of hands, can I please?
Chair, can you just clarify? It's 4 additions. It's just option D.
We
it
are
hasn't
now,
been
sorry, I'll be
changed.
clear.
Thank you.
Councillors, if you could read the motion on the board behind me, it refers to option D, which is on page 91 of 93 of your report, which is promo post via Australia Post. And the amendment reads that Council endorse option D as detailed in the report of the Director of Community Services dated the 7th of December 2022 for the distribution of the Our Logan magazine. It's been moved by Councillor Raven, seconded by Councillor Bannon. You can withdraw that if you would like. You'd like to withdraw that? Okay. Do I have another seconder for the motion? There being none, that motion has failed. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Bradley.
Can I please put forward another recommendation that we reduce to 3, and I don't know what option that is called, but option E.
What I might do
maybe
is I
that's
might
it.
suggest that we actually defer this to ordinary council and give the officers some time to actually crunch the numbers in the background. I'm not comfortable as your chair moving on the fly here. I'd rather that we have all the information that's accurate before us. So, Angie, but to be clear, we need to make sure that Angie understands what we're asking of her. Angie, it would be appreciated if you could look at 3 editions of the Our Logan magazine. If you could look at, and correct me if I'm wrong, councillors, if you could look at that going out via the promo post option, what the cost associated with that would be, and that is the option where residents can opt out. And also, could you please look at that unaddressed option as option with 3 per year, with communicating with residents who may choose to opt out, what that could potentially look like. And you mentioned earlier that there was potential for council not to deliver to letterboxes that have Australia Post only. Could you please also include that? Councillors, is there anything else you want included? I'll go to the Mayor, I'll go to Councillor Lane. Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr.
Councillor
Madam
Lane,
Chair.
I'll get to you in due course.
I just want to state one thing. If an option comes up on the board and I vote against it, it means it doesn't mean I don't like it. It means I'm not satisfied with it. Now, had I been able to get before Councillor Raven, I would have put up my own option. But you got to Councillor Raven before I even put my hand up, so Councillor Raven's option went up on the board. Personally, I would like to see option A with reduced magazines, and that would be obviously the best outcome financially. I find it intriguing that we're prepared to pay more so that people who don't want the magazine don't receive it. To me, that doesn't make sense financially. I would like to see obviously the equation of let's save some money. There's an opportunity to save money, so I would like to get a option A for full council on option A with a reduced amount of deliveries. So that would be, say, 4 deliveries a year.
Yes, are we clear? Yes, thank you.
I'm clear, I can include that.
Thank you, Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much, Madam Chair. I was actually going to say very similar to the Mayor, which is I won't be supporting option D if it comes up to Council as prescribed in the proposed motion. I agree with the Mayor. Option A is the best outcome. It's the best for bang for buck for ratepayers. I'm not sure about the reduced numbers, but certainly if that's what it is, that's what it is. But option A is the best option when it comes to actually spending our ratepayer dollars. And 2,000 people out of 300,000 people is not a big number. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Oops, there we go. Thank you, Councillor Lane. Councillor Bannon.
So the stumbling block was for me, Miriam, and I think and John, was this the don't go to people that don't want it. So to readdress the option A, I'm sorry to cluster it, but because I just got some advice. If we went back to, if you have no junk mail, you don't get the magazine. would that kind of solve the issue?
Well, I think that was one of the options Angie put forward, is that councillors can request that it goes to no junk mail. But the problem associated with that, as Councillor Russell raised, is if a new resident moves into the area, there's no junk mail. By virtue of that, they won't get it. Like you, I'd be more comfortable with that and having it go citywide than having people missing out. And like Councillor Hall, I'm really concerned about elderly residents. I know they love it. They tell me they like it all the time. And I'd hate to see it actually get put in supermarkets and places where people can't necessarily get themselves to.
Because I think a lot less people would be saying, hey, I didn't get it, I want it, than people saying, hey, you shouldn't have sent it to me, I didn't want it. I do like Councillor Bradley going back to 3.
Well, you'll have that
magazines,
option to
plenty for me,
consider that when it comes up to ordinary council. Angie, you've got a comment?
I just want to clarify, just to make sure everyone's really clear, back to Councillor Hall's point, Australia Post doesn't consider the magazine in Promo Post to be junk mail, but we can tell them to honour the no junk mail if we want. So everyone will get it.
So to be clear, what will happen is everyone who has one of those on their letterboxes, you might find that there are residents who will be disappointed they didn't receive it because they don't perceive Logan City Council distributions as junk mail, and you will have actually inquiries. Excuse me, Councillor. You'll have inquiries coming your way, no doubt, about why they didn't receive it because council distribution is regarded as junk mail. So that will be a decision we will make that will actually have unintended consequences with other residents. So just be aware of that. I've got Councillor Raven, Councillor Hall. Angie, did you have any further comments? No. Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just clarifying that it's 2,000 properties out of 125,000 residential properties, so it's nearly 2% of the population that we're sort of biting our thumb out if we want to force it down their throat. But I like having a way.
I think forcing it down their throat is a little bit controversial, Councillor Raven.
Forcing it down their letterbox. I withdraw and change it to forcing it down their letterbox. But I do like the option of being able to say no junk mail, because you could tell those people, hey, if you don't want it, put a no junk mail sign on your letterbox, and that way you have a way of tapping out.
Seems we're moving to the middle. Councillor Hall.
Yeah, I don't think you can paint a broad brush on people to say that all people consider this as junk mail. Some people that even have junk mail on their box may actually consider the magazine as an essential part of council's operation to keep them informed. So, you know, there's those people that we're not considering in that equation to actually put that in and to actually tell the distributor to say that the magazine is something which is via legal classification it is not. So there, you know, people would be entitled to receive the magazine as a ratepayer, as part of their, you know, what they pay in towards their rates as well. There was another important thing, but it's just completely flowing off the top of my head right now. Sorry.
That's fine. Councillor Hall, I actually agree with you. I supported option A with all of that in mind in the first instance. Unfortunately, that option's failed. That being said, though, Angie's got a bit of work to do between now and ordinary council. Angie, do you think you're clear in the brief?
I'm clear, thank you.
And I have a comment from Councillor Fraser.
So someone has a no junk mail sign on their letterbox. They do want our Logan magazine. Too bad, so sad they miss out, unfortunately. Can we maybe look into making a little Logan City Council sticker you can stick next to it, maybe? I don't know, anything that you could sit it in every single magazine for the first run and say, if you want it, put it on your next to your no junk mail. If you don't want it, just leave it and then you miss out next time. I don't know, there's something to think about, because there are lots of older residents that probably don't want heaps of junk mail, but they do love our magazine. Like, all the old people love it. Everyone that I speak to has never said to me, no, I hate it, I don't want it. So I don't know if we can think outside of the box like that, but something like that, and Australia Posters have to go, no junk mail, sticker or no sticker, and there's two differentiations, that's it.
I suspect the answer is going to be no, just for the sheer scale of posties and the different people delivering in different areas. It's a whole briefing process. It's a whole comms process for Australia Post, but we'll definitely look into it. Yeah.
And just on that, I do note that we may be creating an onerous task for Angie and her team to be able to come back to ordinary council with your feedback. Are you comfortable to come back to ordinary council?
I'm comfortable, Councillor Kransky, and we're really committed to the project and want to get the best decision. So,
And if I can
appreciate
just make a comment, if we don't make a change, then we are continuing as we've gone on, and continuing as we go on is actually costing us quite a considerable sum of money, which has been absorbed by the branch until now. I've got the Mayor and then I've got Councillor Lane.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I just don't want to overcomplicate this no junk mail situation. You can't please everyone all the time. And a lot of people don't even look at their letterbox and don't even realise they've got a no junk mail on their letterbox because they may have bought that house 1, 2, 3 years ago and never looked at it. So there are a lot of people who don't see that as junk mail. So you can't differentiate between just because they've got a junk mail on their sign, they don't mean that junk mail. They mean other junk mail. They'd like to see what's going on with council. So don't overcomplicate it. I'm quite happy with the officers taking direction and going to Australia Post and saying, please distribute to all the letterboxes, because it doesn't matter what you do, you always get someone dissatisfied. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got Councillor.
Thanks very much. Madam Chair, I'm just cognisant that Australia Post isn't always that swift with the responses on quotes. So if you can't bring it back to council meeting, obviously we need to write something in for a deferral to the first council meeting of the new year, because they don't always come back to you within 7 working days. So I'm just very aware of that, having dealt with them many times.
Thanks, Councillor Lane. I appreciate that.
Excellent, councillors. I think we're in furious agreement that Angie's going to bring us back some revised concepts for ordinary council next week, and then the Mayor will have the pleasure of chairing that at the next meeting. Councillors, you have a motion on the board behind me that reads that the matter be deferred to ordinary council on the 14th of December for further consideration. Do I have a mover for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Bradley. I have a seconder for the motion with the Mayor. Can I see support or otherwise by a show of hands? Okay, that's been supported by all present with the exception of Councillor Lane. How do you vote, Councillor Lane?
I just think that we're forcing them to come back to something at the next council meeting without any provisions if they can't get the information in time.
Then I expect that will be reported to us at the ordinary council meeting.
Fine, then I support.
That's been unanimously supporting. Councillors, I note that Councillor Russell is no longer with us for the duration of the meeting. She's actually gone home unwell, so I'll just make a note that she wasn't present for the vote. Thank you, councillors. Divisional newsletter is always an exciting time in council.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, I voted against that as well.
Oh, my apologies, councillor. I
Thank
didn't
you.
see your hand raised.
You're right.
Thank you. Can we just make a note? Just make sure that we've captured that correctly. My apologies, Councillor Murphy. Okay, thank you, councillors. That brings us actually to the end of the Marketing and Events Managers reports. Ms Scott, do you have any general business for the councillors?
I don't, but I think Councillor Bradley has a question for me.
Absolutely. Councillors, do you have any general business for the manager? Oh, Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you so much for bringing this report, by the way, that we just debated a bit about, so thank you. I'm just curious, you may not know the answer to this, electioneering sort of advertising during election time, will that also fit under this promo thing? Do you happen to know?
I don't have the answer to that, but I can find it.
Yeah, because that's quite concerning if we're going to be capped.
I'm sorry, Councillor Bradley, I'm not sure I understand your question. Would you mind just explaining so I
I'm
understand?
I understand the manager may not be able to answer, but obviously we've got an election very shortly in 2024, and I was just curious if Australia Post have upped the prices for that as well, for elections.
I see. Councillor
Under
Raven's
the
waving
promo.
furiously at me. No, Councillor Raven?
Apologies, Madam Chair. I thought the question was slightly different about whether or not the Our Logan magazine could be included in the cap, and it's not, because anything council spends money on isn't covered. So.
No. Thank you. I'm not sure if that's something, Angie, that you'd be able to answer, is it?
I actually am not clear on the question now either. Okay.
Perhaps, Councillor Bradley, you might forward an email after the meeting and we'll try and find the right answer to the question.
Email me,
for
Councillor Bradley. I can talk to Emily Shafter.
you. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much to you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure whether this is your area. Are Christmas decorations in the community your area, Angie?
Yes, they are.
They look wonderful on Wembley Road. I want to say thanks very much to the team for getting them up. They look refreshed, which is really nice. The one thing that I would say is there any way we can, maybe add a couple of coloured lights to the theme next year without spending too much money? And the other thing is the banners that we currently have on the streets. I'm wondering whether or not how often they're refreshed, because some of them are looking a little ratty. Yeah, little tired.
There's a couple of points to your question. Firstly, I'm really glad that you're happy with your Christmas decorations. I know that many of you are very passionate about having those in your division, and we've done a lot of work this year to make that process a little bit easier. And where possible, we've tried to accommodate extra requests. So we will obviously continue to do that. The Christmas decorations are a bit tricky in that they do need maintenance. We need to replace some get stolen, etc. So we do have to sort of squeeze things into a budget there. So I will put lights on the list for next year, and I think some of the solar powered is a bit dated. They probably need to be replaced, but we will do another sort of stock take when they all come down and try and replace what we can wear. The second part of your question is with the banners. Do you mean the Proud City banners? Yeah, we do. They've gone up and haven't come down all year, but they will. Most of them have come down for Christmas banners, so we will now do a stock take to see which ones need cleaning, which ones need replacing. They won't all. It's a little bit. It's not complicated, but it's a little bit fiddly. They won't all go back up. Explore Logan is going to have a bunch of banners throughout the city, sort of at the end of this year, start of next year. Then they'll come down. Proud City might go back up. There might be another campaign that we use, so we'll swap them around. But I would say if you do see any banners that are tatty, often after storms, obviously things get damaged, just take a photo, email me, and we can just get it fixed straight away.
Thanks very much. It's very interesting how many residents are invested in the Proud City stuff. So they want to see what's coming next, or whether it's going to be spruced up a bit.
Awesome.
So thank you.
That's great.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Councillor Bradley.
Thank you. Councillor Lane's comments made me raise my hand. I'm not sure if I've sent to you a copy of a 10-year-old Springwoods letter to me, where she was just she's so excited every year to see the tree in Springwood Park decorated, and now has a flow-on effect, wanting Christmas carols and activities, etc. in Springwood Park. So please pass that on to all the staff. Thank you so much for the Christmas tree. It is absolutely greatly appreciated.
Thanks, Councillor Bradley. You did send me that adorable email. I appreciate it.
Thank you, councillors. Councillor Raven.
Sorry, Madam Chair, but I've got to take the opportunity to praise the Christmas decorations. They are fabulous. I'm particularly excited about the ones that are on Logan Lee Road. That I think they're on the boundary of Councillor Hall and Councillor Russell's electorate. I remember when they were first going up, we were told, no, Energex won't let us have them there, but it was a perfect place to put them because it's such a busy road. They look fabulous along there now, and so does the roundabout of Chambers Flat Road and Browns Plains Road. Many, many comments about the extra stuff that you've put there, that it looks great and it's awesome, so well done.
I think we're feeling the love. This is a great segue. So, councillors with no other GB. Right, thank you very much, Angie.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, councillors, we have no late reports to consider on today's agenda, but before we conclude the agenda for today, I'd just like to pass on my sincere thanks to the Director of Community Services, Mr. Brad White, the managers in the Directorate, and the teams that work very hard every day to deliver across the City of Logan for the people of Logan. In particular, I'd like to acknowledge the branches, the City Standards and Animal Care team, marketing and events, sport, leisure and facilities, community services, customer experience and community engagement, libraries and creative industries, parks and media. I wrote them all down because I didn't want to leave anybody out. I know that the officers work very, very hard every day to deliver for the City of Logan, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to sincerely pass on my thanks and my gratitude. I'd also like to recognise Councillor Tony Hall. Tony has been dedicated and hardworking as the Deputy Chairperson of the City Lifestyle Committee, and a lot of that hard work probably goes unnoticed. So thank you, Councillor Hall, for your hard work. Before we wrap up our final City Lifestyle Committee for 2022, does anyone have any general business for the Director of People and Engagement? Thank you, Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much, Madam Chair, through you. So I was actually going to do this to Brad. The community maintenance team in my division, led by Jason Chin, are doing a fantastic job of actually getting repairs done. In fact, I think more repairs have been done since Jason's come on than we've had over the past year. That's not a reflection of anyone else, it's just he's extraordinarily motivated and his team are absolutely fantastic. We've had some hiccups with the Meals on Wheels roof, but they're working at it and they're engaging with the community, they're taking them along on the journey, and it's really important that happens. So a big thank you to Jason and his team, it's really greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Do any other councillors have any other items of general business? No. Kim, do you have any general business for the council?
Through the chair, no, thank you.
Excellent. Well, on that note, to everybody who might be watching at home, I'd like to say thank you for your support over the past year. I wish you a happy and safe Christmas, and we look forward to getting together in 2023. I now declare the City Lifestyle Committee meeting of the 7th of December 2022 concluded at 10 a.m. sharp, and the meeting of the City Governance Committee will commence in 10 minutes. Thanks, everyone.